Nighttime. A dealership sign glows above an empty lot. Cut to the next morning. Glass doors open. Fluorescent light spills across polished hoods. A man walks into a dealership. Bright lights, rows of vehicles waxed to a mirror shine. A salesperson crosses the floor, hand already extended. Cut to a desk, a screen, numbers shifting. Cut to a pen hovering over a signature line. The man signs. Keys change hands. Headlights flick on. The car pulls out into traffic. From the outside, it looks simple. A man walked in. A man walked out. A car was sold. So, where did the dealership actually make its money? Pause. Because the number on the windshield may be only the beginning. You came to buy a car, but the dealership wasn't necessarily selling you just one thing. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the showroom floor might be the smallest room in the building, and why the real business could be happening in places you never even walked into. Most people believe the car business works like this. A dealership buys a vehicle for less, sells it for more, and pockets the difference. Simple, almost boring. That idea isn't wrong, it's just incomplete. Think of a dealership less like a store and more like an ecosystem, a cluster of separate businesses operating under one roof, one sign, one parking lot. There's the sales floor, where new and used vehicles change hands. There's the finance office, tucked behind a closed door. There's the service department, humming in the back with the smell of oil and rubber. There's the parts counter, the trade-in lot, the detail bay, the customer waiting room with bad coffee and a television nobody's watching. The person who greets you at the door isn't necessarily the whole business. They're one department of several, and the other departments are just getting started. And the first surprise begins before you even sit down to sign the paperwork. Let's start where everyone assumes the story begins, the vehicle sale itself. A manufacturer builds the car. It's shipped to the dealership at a wholesale cost. The sticker on the window, the MSRP, is a suggested price, not a guarantee of what the dealership actually earns. Real-world pricing bends around market conditions, regional demand, inventory levels, and manufacturer programs. Sometimes a dealership sells a vehicle with a healthy gross profit. Sometimes it sells nearly at cost because moving that vehicle clears space for the next one, or because a manufacturer incentive made volume more valuable than margin on that specific unit. This is the part most people never think about. The sticker price alone can't tell you what a dealership actually made. Two identical cars sold the same week can generate very different outcomes depending on demand, negotiation, and what else is happening across the business that month. So the economics of a dealership can't be understood by staring at one number on one windshield. Because after the vehicle is sold, another department enters the story. The salesperson steps away. A new door opens. This is where the pace of the story changes. The showroom was bright and open. This room is quieter. A desk, a screen, a stack of paper waiting to be signed. The finance office exists because most people don't pay cash for a car. They finance it. And financing isn't just a formality. It's its own layer of the business, built on arrangements between dealerships and lenders. Here's the part that surprises people. Depending on the transaction, a dealership can potentially earn revenue from the financing itself, not just the vehicle. The interest rate, the loan term, and additional products offered at this desk can all shape what the deal is actually worth. Let's walk through a simple hypothetical example, not a real transaction, just a way to see the moving parts. A buyer sits down thinking about one number, $500 a month. But that monthly figure is the visible tip of a much bigger calculation. Vehicle price, down payment, trade-in value, interest rate, loan length, taxes, fees, and any optional products layered on top. Change any one of those variables and the monthly payment can stay exactly the same while the total cost of the car quietly shifts underneath it. The lesson here isn't that financing is bad. Financing is how most Americans buy cars, and for many buyers it's the only realistic path to ownership. The lesson is simpler. Understand exactly what you're paying for and what each number in front of you actually represents. But financing isn't where the dealership's story ends. Now the menu appears. Extended service contracts, gap coverage, tire and wheel protection, paint protection, interior protection, maintenance packages, theft deterrents, accessories. The customer walked in thinking, "I just need a car." Now they're looking at a list of add-ons they hadn't considered an hour earlier. These products aren't inherently dishonest. Extended coverage can genuinely protect a buyer from an expensive repair down the road. Gap coverage can protect someone who owes more than their car is worth after an accident. For some buyers, these products provide real peace of mind. But they're also optional, and they can add real dollars to a deal, which means they deserve real questions. Is this required or optional? What exactly does it cover? What does it cost, separate from the monthly payment? Is anything on this list already included in the price we discussed? And can I decline it? This isn't an accusation, it's consumer awareness. Because here's the line worth remembering. The most expensive thing in a dealership isn't always the car. Sometimes it's what you don't notice until after you've signed. Cut to a technician walking around a parked SUV with a clipboard, checking the tires, the paint, the engine bay. Here's a layer most people never think about from the dealership side. When you trade in a vehicle, the dealership isn't just selling you a car, it's also acquiring one. The process looks almost like a second, quieter transaction happening inside the first. The trade-in is evaluated. Mileage, condition, market demand, what it will cost to recondition. Then a decision gets made. Does this vehicle go back out on the retail lot, or does it move through a wholesale channel to another dealer or an auction? Picture a hypothetical trade-in. Someone brings in an SUV. The dealership doesn't just ask what the owner originally paid for it. It asks a different question entirely. What is this vehicle actually worth in today's market, and what will it cost us to get it ready to sell? That gap between acquisition, reconditioning, and resale is another piece of the machine. Your trade-in doesn't just leave the story, it becomes inventory. It becomes someone else's next car. The customer drives away, the showroom quiets. But deeper inside the building, the lights are still on. Mechanics under hydraulic lifts, oil draining into a pan, brake pads being swapped, tires rolling off a rack, a technician running diagnostics on a dashboard full of blinking codes. Behind a counter, shelves of parts, organized by bin number, waiting to be pulled. This is the department most customers forget exists the moment they drive off the lot, and it might be one of the most important rooms in the building. Service, parts, and labor can create something the vehicle sale alone can't. Recurring revenue. A car is typically purchased once, but it needs oil changes, brake jobs, tire rotations, occasional repairs, and warranty work for years. The sale is one transaction. Ownership creates a timeline. Every time that customer comes back for an oil change, that's not an interruption to the business. For many dealerships, that's the business, quietly running in the background long after the sold sign came off the windshield. Cut to a used car lot at dusk, price stickers reflecting the sunset. New cars come from the manufacturer at a fairly predictable cost. Used cars are a different game entirely, sourced from trade-ins, auctions, and wholesale purchases, each one arriving with its own condition, its own history, its own uncertainty. Every used vehicle is its own small puzzle. What will it cost to recondition? How fast will it sell in this market? Is it aging on the lot, quietly losing value the longer it sits? That last question matters more than people realize. Inventory that doesn't move isn't neutral. It ties up capital and can become more expensive the longer it stays. Too much inventory and money sits idle on the lot. Too little and the dealership has nothing to sell when a customer walks in ready to buy. Balancing that, constantly, vehicle by vehicle, is less like running a store and more like playing chess against the market itself. Now zoom out. Montage. Sales floor, finance office, service bays, parts warehouse, used car lot, detail bay. A manager's office with spreadsheets glowing on a monitor. From the outside, it looks like one business, operating under one name, one sign, one lot. Inside, it's several businesses, running at the same time, feeding into each other. Profitability depends on far more than any single sale. It depends on volume, gross profit across departments, operating expenses, inventory costs, staffing, advertising, facility overhead, and how efficiently every one of those departments runs together. And results vary enormously. Brand, location, ownership, local market conditions, and management all shape whether a dealership is thriving or barely breaking even. Not every dealership is equally profitable. Not every location is printing money. This isn't a machine that guarantees success. It's a machine that has to be run well to work at all. Here's a question worth sitting with. When you buy a car, what number do you actually remember afterward? Most people don't say the total price. They say the monthly payment. That's not an accident of memory. It's psychology. A monthly number feels manageable, digestible, almost small. A total price feels heavy. And that difference in feeling can quietly shape the entire conversation at the dealership. Picture a hypothetical buyer who says, "I want to be around $450 a month." That single sentence hands over a lot of flexibility. Because $450 a month can be reached by adjusting the down payment, stretching or shortening the loan term, shifting the vehicle price, reworking the trade-in value, or changing the interest rate. Here's the critical distinction. A lower monthly payment does not automatically mean a cheaper car. Stretch a loan from 4 years to 7, and the monthly number can drop, while the total amount paid over the life of the loan climbs. None of this makes financing a trap. It makes it a puzzle with several pieces, and the monthly payment is just one piece dressed up to look like the whole picture. And once you understand that, the entire dealership conversation starts to look different. This is the deepest layer of the machine. A dealership doesn't necessarily want a customer who buys once and disappears. It wants a customer who comes back, for service, for parts, for tires, for the next vehicle, for a referral to a friend. There's a term for this: customer lifetime value. The idea that one customer isn't worth whatever they spend in a single afternoon, they're potentially worth whatever they spend across years of ownership. Picture a timeline. Day 1, the vehicle purchase. Month 6, a routine service visit. Year 2, new tires. Year 3, an unexpected repair. Year 4, a trade-in conversation begins. Year 5, a new vehicle, and the cycle starts again. The dealership isn't just thinking about the transaction in front of it, it's thinking about the relationship stretching out behind it. Let's lay it all out. The vehicle sale, the financing, the protection products, the accessories, the trade-in, the used car operation, the service department, the parts counter, the returning customer, the next vehicle years down the road. That's the machine. But that doesn't mean every dealership makes millions, and it doesn't mean every customer is being overcharged. Some departments carry a dealership, others barely break even. The mix is different everywhere, And the honesty or fairness of any single deal depends on the people and the dealership involved, not the existence of the business model itself. The real point was never to expose a scandal. It was to understand the shape of the business. Back to the man from the opening, headlights on, pulling out of the lot into the dark. At first, it looked like he had simply purchased a car. Now you know what was actually happening around him. You thought you bought a car. Pause. The dealership saw a vehicle sale. Pause. A financing opportunity. Pause. A potential service relationship. Pause. A future trade-in. Pause. And potentially a customer for years. That's why the biggest lesson here isn't dealerships make money. It's that the smartest businesses don't build their entire model around one transaction. They build an ecosystem around the customer. So the next time you walk into a dealership, pause. Are you buying a car? Pause. Or are you stepping into an entire business model? Be honest. When you bought your last car, what surprised you more? The price of the vehicle, the financing, the add-ons, or the trade-in? Tell me what happened in the comments. Your experience might become the next story we investigate. Because once you learn how the money actually moves, you start seeing ordinary businesses very differently.